Hello, this is Walton, social psychologist and coach at Plan for Change. Since you may be contemplating choosing someone to work with in setting and achieving your goals, it's only fair that you should have some idea about that coach, their background, their training and their life experiences. When I think about my career, there's a slight rumbling coming from the ground. I think it's my old high school career counsellor turning in his grave. Suffice to say that I was never to be his poster child. My career path does not appear on any map that I'm aware of, and I do not regret 1 minute of it. I was born and brought up in England and graduated from high school with all the sciences, physics, chemistry, electronics and math. My first job was not one advised by my career counsellor. It was as a graphic artist for a publishing company. It was a wonderful job. A right brain foil for all the left brain science stuff I'd been studying. It also meant I was to be living in London at the height of the party era. The highly skilled editor of the magazine that I was working with, Richard, became a good friend of mine. Gradually he gave me articles to research and write when my graphics assignments had been completed. And I was bitten by the writing bug. I became a journalist on the magazine and its editor when Richard left. The research and writing skills I learnt from journalism have been the gifts that gave and gave. Later, studying for my PhD in social psychology, I was surrounded by colleagues with writer's block. If I felt that coming on, I just pictured my publisher perched on my shoulder saying, "An advertiser just pulled out. I need 5,000 words by 4 o'clock." And I would just get on with the writing. The London party scene got old, and I was bitten by the second life-changing bug, the travel bug. I rounded up 3 graphic artist friends and we hitchhiked to Greece. I left behind an old personality with my old baggage and explored the opportunity to find a new adult self. It was a wonderful experience. Many years later, having lived and worked in 7 different countries and visited many more, I wouldn't trade a day of it for anything else. The only downside being that I would never get a job if it depended on my resume. The upside? These experiences have been an invaluable asset to my coaching. In 2 ways, really. First, it taught me to embrace diversity in all its forms. I've worked and lived next to people of many different belief systems in my travels, and this has broadened my worldview dramatically. When I was teaching scuba diving in Egypt, I would go into town on my days off and share tea with a retired theology professor from the University of Cairo. He talked for hours about religion, and I learnt more about Islam than I could ever have done from reading a book. After horrific events such as 9/11, as well as being mortified for the surviving families and friends of the victims, I also felt so sorry for that professor, that the belief system he was so attached to had been so abusively corrupted by a tiny number of extremists. I know that he was mourning those victims also. The second way in which travel has benefited my coaching is that becoming part of different cultures exposed me to different social norms, different value systems and different world views. I'm very much an individualist. I like the freedom to express myself as I wish, to be a team player when I want to be and not when I don't. The United States suits me well. On the other hand, I very much enjoyed being in collectivist cultures such as Portugal, Mexico and Greece, where people are very supportive of the family and of each other. And it is expected that you circle the wagons when a friend or family member is in need. I'm not saying that people don't help each other in the US, they do. But the point is that it is voluntary, it's not an expected part of the culture. Why is he telling me this, I hear you ask? I thought this was about coaching. Well, it is. The point is that experiencing these different cultures gave me the opportunity to find out what kind of environment I was suited to. What would help me thrive? In other words, it helped me know myself better. And knowing yourself is, in my view, a crucial part of being a great coach. Also, the breadth of my experience makes it easier for me to relate to clients' challenges and situations. When I returned to the UK after my Greek trip, my career briefly took a more conventional path. I became the electronics engineer for a medical physics project. It was to do with ultrasound, and it was based at the University of Surrey in England. As it turned out, this would mark the beginning of my career as an inventor and entrepreneur. Initially, my inventions were related to measuring ultrasound levels in imaging situations, particularly when imaging is used on the unborn fetus. I've always been a musician, and my drummer friend in our garage band was having trouble miking his Latin drums, bongos and congas and other percussion. Regular microphones would get in the way of his hands when he was playing. So I adapted the acoustics experience from the ultrasound project to audible sound and invented a contact microphone that I named the Seducer. It later became the microphone of choice worldwide. For the piano, it was particularly important, with a user list that included Elton John, Dave Brubeck. Frank Sinatra wouldn't go on stage without it for the last 2 years of his performing career. The growth of these businesses took me to the US to visit and finally to live. And exciting though building these companies had become, the time came when it seemed right to move on to something else, the next phase. After I sold the businesses, I spent a few years consulting on innovation and export marketing, which led me to start what is now known as executive coaching. There was very little, if any, formal training in this area back in 2000, so I joined the University of Nevada, Reno's PhD program in social psychology. This is the study of individuals within the group. It seemed like, and has been, a great fit for my goals. It was a fabulous experience from which I graduated in 2005 with a focus on creativity and innovation. There's a surprise. As well as being a spectacular fit for my coaching, it has also led me to renew rewarding years teaching in the university's business school. The next video in this series focuses on the coaching process and what you can expect from the discovery call that you might have with me onward. The details will of course depend on your particular situation and reasons for choosing the coaching path, but in a general sense the steps we will take will remain the same. The only thing I will add here is that at all times you are in charge. We may have chosen a big goal for you to aim for, but from week to week particular issues may arise that you wish to focus on, and that's just fine. Similarly, you dictate the depth with which to go when we address certain topics. Anything you're not ready to talk about, we will avoid until you are ready. Finally, be aware that unless you indicate that you are contemplating causing harm to yourself or to others, everything we discuss is confidential and will be shared with no one else unless you explicitly decide to do so. If you have questions or feel you'd like to take the next step regards having me as your coach, just send me a message via the message link below and suggest a suitable time for a free discovery call. If during that call you feel I'm not a good fit to help you identify and achieve your goals, or if the coaching you need is in an area that is not within my expertise, we will wish each other well and go our separate ways. Even if you're not ready to participate in coaching yet, but have questions, we can do that via email if you message me below, or once again via phone or Zoom. Choosing the right coach is critical to the success of your coaching experience, and I'm here to help you make that decision.